You good, Josh?
Good.
All right. Well, let's get started. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. As I implied, we were doing an on-site tour of Penobscot Park, hence the reason for the 6 p.m. plus or minus that you see on your agenda. So before we get going, Steve, would you read the quote of the evening, please?
I certainly will. If you would only recognize that life is hard, things would be so much easier for you. By Louis Brandeis.
Thank you so much. And now, before we get going, I would like to open the podium for any non-agenda items. This is for the Citizens Forum. Sure. Yeah, come up, introduce yourself. Yep, speak into the mic. Yep.
Ron Strzeski, Atlantic Highway, Lincolnville. I'm here with my wife, Christine. We moved into the old Justin Blake's old house right there on the corner of Beach Road. And that was in 2020. And for many years, my wife and I have been hobby thoroughbred horse breeders. And when we came up during COVID in 2020, we had one of the last ones we bred. It happened that the granddam, the grandmother on one side of the horse, was named Miss Cassett. And so since we decided we were going to keep it, we thought it would be nice to name the horse after this new town that we had become a part of, Lincolnville Beach, and we did. Delighted to say that while thoroughbred horses in particular can be very expensive rabbits, this one actually has some talent and won a race, as Diane O'Brien was nice enough to report amongst the bulletin board. But I have here with me tonight a copy of the win photo in case you all would like it, as well as, if I can impose on the town administration, my wife and I, Diane might have overstated our generosity a little bit. We are willing to donate a portion of the purse, but we'd like to make a donation to the, among others, the school 8th grade fund for the school trip. So I have that here. If I can ask
If you want to give that to our town administrator, that would be great.
Then two other quick things. Like you all, I once had the privilege in my hometown to serve for 5.5 years on the equivalent of this. I suspect that you're not always appreciated as much as you probably should be, but at least from the perspective of somebody who's had the opportunity to do what you are doing, I think you do a wonderful job. And in that regard, I also want to say, I don't know what we pay Mr. Kinney, but for a town of this size to have someone of his talent, as well as a staff that's as professional as they are, really speaks a testament to all of you and to him. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thanks a lot. Oh, you guys have a nice night.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I said I did that for 5.5 years.
Was this for us?
Yeah, that's yours.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for any non-agenda items? Seeing no one rushing up to the podium, let's move along to the administrator's report.
The only thing I have beyond what's on the agenda is DOT had a day in August that's yet to be determined. We'll be shutting down Hope Road for a culvert replacement between here and Martin Corner Road. And they're going to advertise it, and they'll have signboards up and everything else, but that will likely increase the traffic around the Heel Road, Martin Corner Road loop for that one day, just so you know.
All right. Anything else?
I think the agenda's enough for everything else.
All right. Can I slide one more thing in? Because I feel like it was remiss, but it was brought up on the drive back that accolades should go out to you and David Roundy for organizing, and all of the volunteers that we had. The park just looks great. So
It's coming.
thank you for that. All right, let's move along to upcoming meetings and announcements.
All meetings are here at the town office unless announced otherwise, like the meeting that's not on your agenda. The Harbor Committee today set a meeting for Wednesday, July 13th, 5:30 at the pier. Conservation Commission is scheduled to meet Thursday, July 14th, 4 p.m. Broadband Committee scheduled to meet Thursday, July 14th, 6 p.m. Comprehensive Plan Review Committee Wednesday, July 20th, 7 p.m. And the Board of Selectmen meet next on Monday, July 25th, 6 p.m.
Thank you very much. Are there any upcoming community events anyone wishes to share? Not seeing anything. Let's move along to the meeting minutes from the 27th of June.
I move that the board approve the June 27th, 2022 meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Thank you all very much. And agenda item number 8, we have Jordan Barnett Parker here to address the board.
Well, I know that there are 3 successive ones, so I forget which one was the first one.
The Affordable Housing Task Force.
Okay, so we had talked about this and actually had been an agenda item in a couple of select board meetings in the past, but I just was hoping that there might be some action in forming a task force or a committee for affordable housing sometime soon. Just where it was in, as a priority thing in the original comprehensive plan, and then we kind of all talked about it being important now, and that's it. Just thought I would bring it up, and again, this is I think from about a month ago at this point. So,
Thoughts from the board?
Well, it just occurs to me that right now, on 2 fronts, there's work on affordable housing on 2 fronts, right? Comprehensive Plan Review Committee and the upcoming Heart and Soul thing, should that gain traction. So work's being done along those lines, but I think what it comes down to, in my opinion, I don't know, is just limited bandwidth on the part of the town. Only so many people. I mean, this is so cool to see all these people here volunteering, but there's only so much, in my opinion, that the Board of Selectmen and the committee volunteers can take on. So I kind of like to wait and see what happens that comes out of those 2 things before we take something on. Go ahead.
sure. Okay. So the other element of this is I will just bring up as a juxtaposition the broadband situation is just specifically with affordable housing. There are programs and monies out there right now, and as we're seeing, unfortunately, in the broadband committee, is that in the time it's taken to get to the point where we are now, that the costs have literally doubled, and at a large figure. So that's the thing that to me seems more pressing. I know that there's discussion about it. I'm speaking in reference to a committee whose specific task is to find what's going on with the town and see if we can get grant money from the federal government or state to help with that before it's all gone. And that's really the impetus of it, is because we've seen with another example, although not the same, where broadband was the same thing. It was like there are these programs, and slowly but surely the word got out there, and then there was a feeding frenzy, and then it became you know what I mean? So that's it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah.
I would echo what you said, Mike, and additionally with the legislation that has just been passed at the state level and the work that MMA is doing to create tools to support municipalities embarking on this endeavor. I mean, it seems as though we are in the process of working on that. And it is a process, and it's a long-term process. And I just out of curiosity, because you didn't submit anything, do you have some sort of suggested framework or structure or goals, timelines, makeup of the committee, that sort of thing?
Yeah, it was
you would recommend to the board?
Well, assessment of the living situation in Lincolnville and the tenability of it to see if there's, if living in Lincolnville is a problem, if that's something that's causing a lot of people angst as far as the affordability of it. I mean, talking to businesses, because we have.
Right. I mean, besides just talking points, though, like, do you have?
Well,
it would be helpful to the board, rather like. I don't think, speaking for myself, absolutely, I can get behind our community looking at affordable housing for members of our community or people who wish to move to our community. But an idea is one thing, and having supporting tangible information from which we can start to build some sort of progress other than there's money and I have an idea.
I hear you. And I thought there was some groundwork laid in the 2 previous select board meetings, as well as the workshop that we had with the comprehensive plan committee, where it was discussed a little bit, but I can understand the more information, the better.
Anything else from the board on this? All right. Jordan, so you're next up.
I was just gonna take this half, okay, good, I'll just.
And if you want, you can grab an agenda to prompt you on what we're here to discuss next. Does the board wish to accept public comment on Jordan's suggestion?
Yeah.
Okay. John, you raised your hand. Come on up to the podium, please.
Well, just what a task force is about. I mean, isn't it to gather the kind of information that we would all like to see, and that's part of what task force is. And
Sure.
if there are volunteers willing to serve on a task force, I don't see what the problem is in terms of, your concern about not having enough information to go on and so forth. It seems to me that's what a task force is about.
Sure.
So anyway, I would certainly encourage the formation of a task force and support from the select board for that purpose.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 9. Jordan?
So, in reading the packet that David put together, there was an answer to my initial question, wasn't for you guys to decide, hey, let's bar none, allow amplified music, but for there to be a process in which limited permits could be issued if that was such a thing, which there is, but it seems that there's a defunct trustee group that needs to be put back into action.
You just need volunteers.
Yeah. And I didn't even know that was a public serving. I thought for some reason that was like a private committee or a trust or something, that I didn't realize that was under the town control and needed 3 members in order to conduct any business, so.
Yeah, well, so, and you have that document now,
Yeah.
and it very clearly lays out how to go about all those things, so we just need volunteers.
So until the time that the group is reactivated, it is impossible, however, to put in a permit for something like that.
For amplified music?
Well, yeah, or anything regarding the board of trustees for the bandstand to allow permission. I think that would be just because, I mean, we just had my niece's birthday party, it's an integral part of the community, and it'd just be nice for everybody to know what footing we're all on, what we can and can't do.
Sure, yeah, well, I mean, besides the document that you have.
Yeah.
Well, with a lack of trustees, I mean, everything falls back into the laps of the 5 of you.
Right.
And, either you go find trustees or you get to ignore your policy.
Right.
It's not an ordinance. It was something adopted by Board of Selectmen a long time ago. Okay. I do also know that there's at least one neighbor here that, or 2 or 3 or half a dozen that may want to comment on this as well.
Yeah. Does that answer your question? So, I mean, if someone was so motivated, theoretically, they could reach out to the town
And it would bounce
administrator,
to
and
you
the town
guys.
administrator would reach out to us.
I think
and then-
that's super important, because somebody had just reached out to me, a music lover, and it wasn't like talking about throwing a huge event, but just, I think, somebody wanting to just play a few songs or something, and
Mhm.
said, hey, I never even thought about that, and didn't, and
Mhm.
David told me about the rules, so I thought,
Mhm.
seek some clarification.
Mhm. But it would be lovely to have that managing body to
Yeah,
oversee it specifically.
yeah, for sure, I think so as well.
Yeah, great.
Add it to the list.
Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this? All right, please come on up to the podium.
Okay, I'm right here. First, I'll let you know, in case you don't know who I am, I'm Claire Fry. My property is at 184 Main Street, about 100 feet from the gazebo. And obviously, I'm absolutely against amplified music at the gazebo because we live on the water. I am amazed that everybody on Norton Pond isn't here tonight, because you can hear somebody in a kayak across the street on my property just talking normally. You don't need amplification when you're on the water. Believe me, Anyway, but I do know it's town taxpayer property. The park, the gazebo was built, I understand, with all money from donations and what have you over the years. And I understand that the trustees were, I think perhaps one of them has passed away. And I didn't know who's still on that trustees. I had no idea what had happened exactly. I've owned my property since 1960, the little camp that I'm in, and it is still a camp. Taxes don't seem to show that, but it is still a camp. And I intend to keep it. I don't intend to sell it, but I certainly don't want to have any problems with, I mean, we have the use of it, and it's great. I have no complaints about the park. I love the sailing being there, the young kids enjoy it. There's been very little problem late at night in the last 10 years at least. And I just figure everybody kind of grew up and stopped acting up and racing off at midnight. And the fireworks situation is under control as far as I'm concerned. It's pleasant for the time as it is. And I love music, all kinds of music. From country western to classical, so I'm not against music, I'm just against the amplification, excuse me. Anyway, I just don't think that that is going to enhance the town's beauty or anything, prosperity for the town by using the town. It's still, the land is still the town's. The gazebo may be somebody else's, I don't know, but I thought it was still town property. And all taxpayers should be thinking how they want the town to prosper. And I don't think that amplification of music, I know parties are fun. I love to dance as much as anyone, even though I'm 90 years old. And I just don't think it's a good thing for the town of Lincolnville to think about using that property. If anybody wants to have that sort of a property, purchase property a little farther in more distant places away from the pond. Anyway, I just think that's the way most people that would be involved in hearing it, it's going to be heard everywhere, not just me. And so, thank you for letting me speak, and I think not would be my vote. If I had a vote, they don't even allow me to vote. So I'm just speaking, and I thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you for sharing.
Thanks.
Would anyone else care to get up and, okay.
I'm Jane Monhart, live at 64 Norton Pond Road, and I can vouch for what Claire says. I mean, sound travels across the water very easily. I came here first to find out what the current process is, and the way I understand it, if somebody wants, without the trustees, if somebody wants to do it, they see, go to David, and then he brings it to you. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. I would say I'm not necessarily against it, but I think I would like to see, it would have to be tightly controlled. I don't think I would want to see just if some band, wanted to show up or anybody amplify music at any time they wanted, I would have a serious problem with that. I know our Lincolnville band, they're not amplified. I mean, they're loud enough, they play, and I think, we enjoy it. So I think it's, if this goes forward, I think I would want to see it fairly well controlled and not something that happens all the time. Quite frankly, in the wintertime, the lawnmower races is enough noise to last us for most of the year.
Well, and certainly circumstantially, given that there isn't an active trustees group, it would be on a case-by-case basis in a meeting just like this, where the public would be invited and encouraged to come to.
So nobody can just show they're up there and just do it anytime. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else? Sure, great. Come on up to the podium, please.
Thank you. Hi. I'm Jim Pierce. I live at 188 Main Street, and we've just been here for a few years. We've been coming here for about 15 years for vacations. We absolutely love the town and you guys, and thank you for being here and allowing everybody to speak. And I echo what my neighbors say, that I'm glad that there's, concern over, just allowing carte blanche, saying yes, that amplified music could be there would definitely change the environment, and I think to the negative. That's it. So if I had a vote too, I would be one asking for a lot of control, and probably a no if it was just carte blanche. Thank you.
Thank you.
And for anyone who wishes to have some really stimulating bedtime reading, the town office can certainly provide. Is it on our website, the Breedemere Park guidelines?
I don't know the answer to that.
But
could be.
We could easily get anyone who wished to have it. There is a document, the Town of Lincolnville, Breedemere Park Bandstand Use Guidelines. It's a few pages. Fine print, so we're your readers, and
Question you got in there.
yeah, sure, come on up. So anyway, there's lots of great information. Yeah, we have to make you come up to the podium so anyone watching at home can join in the fun.
Anyway, again, I'm still Claire Fry. I have a question. Does the town of Lincolnville have a noise control ordinance? That's my answer. I just wondered. Thank you.
That's a no for anyone listening.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Not just a head.
No one can hear you sure you can't hear the beans rattling around in my head? Yeah, Josh.
Do we know the last time we had a quorum of bandstand trustees and the last time they met?
Not off the cuff, but it's been several years would be my guess. And I will say that this guideline's been in place since the bandstand was constructed, and this predates my arrival, although I've been here a while.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first time anybody's ever approached and asked about amplified music that I'm aware of. To the point where I think when I was first contacted about this, I said, oh, it's prohibited. And then I read the guidelines and said, well, maybe it's not prohibited.
But there is a process.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great. Moving along to agenda item number 10. Jordan.
All right. So this is a perennial issue that comes up with a certain group of people in town, and so I just wanted to bring it up about parking, whether it's a actual or perceived problem. I don't think that matters. There's just a lot of people, especially business owners, who are super unhappy with how the parking is being managed. And I'm not saying that like anyone's doing anything wrong, but I know for a couple of years now, I believe we've taken as a budget line item out room for a parking enforcement person for a few hours at a time. I may be incorrect on that, but I thought that that's something that happened. And maybe there's an appetite from people in the town for there to be more enforcement.
That budget line has existed, and
Yeah.
we have tried to get anyone interested in applying.
Oh, I know. I didn't say that at all,
Yeah.
but didn't we, I can remember rolling that into. Yeah, that's not saying
Yeah.
anything. I just
Yeah.
remember, so I know that that's not a line item in the budget anymore, but these people, I think, have a right to be concerned, and especially their livelihoods are at stake, and so I thought I would bring it up. Facebook discussions don't do anything, so I just figure it's better for one person to bring it forward for consideration than none. So that was it.
So I think one of the important things that I would like to say is, yeah, it was a line item on the budget for 2 years. The first year that we talked about it, we had a selectman who volunteered his time as a pilot to see how it would work, and it actually worked pretty decent. But he had to do a lot of explaining to people who didn't know what the process was, people who didn't necessarily care as well. Some of it was good, some of it wasn't. But when you appropriate money, taxpayers' money, year after year, and raised the wage. It isn't really a volunteer job, it was a paid job, and we raised the wage to attract people. And nobody comes around. I don't know what to say to people who are complaining when we had the tools in place to try to take care of this, but yet we can't get anybody to do it, work it, okay? I get it, it's frustrating. And I had a local fisherman reach out to me this morning who goes to work very early, who had to park on the high water mark to go to work. That's no good. There are a number of mitigating circumstances down there that are just adding to everything. Do we need to get a handle on it? Yes, we do. It's something that happens every year. It's happening right over here to Norton Pond. I have had uncomfortable conversations with people already this year about it. People parking in the lane to launch a boat. They don't care. If we had somebody there, they might be forced to care. I see people on social media that aren't going to pay fines because they pay taxes. I know you probably read the same one because you were on the same post.
Yeah.
So you go from one extreme to another. There's no balance here when we don't have people who step up. And I, for one, just don't have the time to do it. People don't want me to do it because it's going to get ugly. It really is. And I'm sorry about that. But outside of down at Lincolnville Beach, outside of somebody taking the bull by the horns and having a paid parking area, or maybe someone coming up with some land that this can be done economically and reasonably for people that want to park and enjoy the beach, and people who want to go across on the ferry, and people who make their living. You know what I mean? I do feel that the town needs to take a harder stance when people are in the parking spaces down at the beach, that where it indicates that they will be towed if they don't have a permit. I think we need to take a harder stance and tow them. It's only going to take a few of them.
Yeah.
And I think we ought to tow a few of the vehicles out of the 2-hour parking zone or the 4-hour parking zone to prove a point. People think we're soft. I've heard that. So what does the taxpayers want us to do? Got taxpayers saying they're not going to pay the fine. What do you want us to do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, I'll take direction from a taxpayer.
Yeah, Josh.
So first of all, I'm looking at the second quarter, the town clerk quarterly report. I see 46 parking tickets. Where did that, where are those from?
You're looking at it, and there's been more.
Yeah.
Okay, so who's giving those out, and where? I don't actually know what we're doing right now.
You're looking at them.
Okay.
We annually, right after the state starts charging for parking in the state parking lot, people migrate away because why should I pay $10 to park if I can park for free? And we usually start off with a nice little friendly courtesy card that says, hey, you shouldn't be here this long, tucked under the windshield of the wiper. And then we hear it from the other side of, I'm just going out to Ellsboro, make a living. You got to provide me a parking spot. I'm going to Ellsboro to go to school. You got to provide me a parking spot. I work at the Ellsboro school. You got to, no, we don't. Sorry. Come to this forum and say what your problem is, and maybe we'll solve it for you or try. Parking, let's just say probably isn't the highest priority on the town administrator's list of things to do, or the public facilities director's list of things to do. Usually we try, if we're on one of those days, to get down there earlier in the morning, because most of the parking spots are 4 hours, and then back at early afternoon. If you happen to still be in the same spot, you get a nice little, after a while, the warnings obviously aren't affected. You ratchet it up the next step. But you also hear, well, fine, first time is $10. That's what it cost me over there, so I might as well park here and see if I get one. And it's $25 after that, but obviously people don't pay, all of them. Some do. You want to tell us to tow cars? We'll tow them. You want us to go get a boot? We'll go get a boot. Somebody will pay, but.
So in terms of people paying their tickets, like
Yeah.
what's the delinquency on that? The percentage of tickets?
By the time we're done, probably near half pay.
Okay.
It's, the more frequent flyers are people that live in our community or nearby that don't think the rules apply to them.
Just one more question. Since you're actually doing this,
Yeah.
which I didn't realize, so thank you for tickets when you can. Do you think it would be easier, and we've talked about this before, having a machine where people, a self-service machine, obviously enforcement still falls on someone walking around and reading the printed tickets, but do you see that, would that make your job easier when you are able to go and check out cars?
It would be quicker because you wouldn't make 2 trips to the beach, you'd make 1. I would be concerned about, things happening to the machine or not happening to the machine, or not working, and then what do you do and what do people do? There are pros and cons to any approach you come up with. It would be nice if we had, for lack of a better word, an ambassador that could be directional as well as enforcement. So when somebody says, how do I get to Searsmont, here, or how do I find Lincolnville Center to get to a different store than these ones? Point direction. But you could be down there all day, every day, and you wouldn't catch everybody, unfortunately. And then compliance on the other end. Might be something you want to revisit at some point to up the fee. You might want to have a conversation with the state about what are you doing? All you're doing is encouraging people to move up. State also sells season passes for their parking lot more than they have spaces for. Is my understanding. I haven't asked them that question. And fortunately, in about 6 weeks, it'll all be over. Maybe.
Karen, you good?
Anything constructive. I really don't.
Yeah, I think it's all. Mike, you look pensive.
Well, yeah, well, it's gonna be over in 6 weeks, but I'm wondering if it's worth our while to start collecting data from the state, asking questions. How overbooked are they, for example? And what percentage of tickets aren't paid, et cetera, et cetera. Talk to, maybe do a little research, talk to other towns and see what are the effects of boots? And is it gonna be, we're gonna create any safety problems by towing? I don't know. But maybe if we can get some of those answers, some information along those lines, we can move forward to making a decision. Probably not by the end of 6 weeks. Of course.
It'll be back next summer,
Yeah, I know that.
just so you know.
I know.
Yeah, Karen.
See, and I'm the one that said, people think we're soft, we're not gonna tow them,
Right.
we should be higher. But if you think of that, and I'm thinking of everybody's pocketbook, if you tow a vehicle from down there, the closest tow is Rockport or Belfast. That's $125 anyway. And then how does the person get to their vehicle?
All right,
You know?
And these are members of our community. I mean, it's not right
Right.
that they're inconveniencing other members of our community. But
Correct.
Well, there's let's go back to the inherent problem, which is we have members of our community that work on Islesboro and they need a place to park, right? Like that's the original sin. And so hitting them with all these fines doesn't change the fact that they still need a place to park all day. That's not necessarily our problem, but we should be thinking about how do we solve that?
well, and certainly, to the point of Jordan's agenda item request, it's like concerns regarding parking. This is an annual issue, and I don't mean to sound dismissive in the slightest, because it is so frustrating to have little to no tools. I mean, we, the board and the town administrator and volunteers have put quite a lot of effort into helping mitigate or address some of these issues. And certainly that has not been recognized or acknowledged by our community. And nor should they need to know these efforts. It's our job. But I mean, I would love to have a magic wand and just make more land appear, make the configuration be different, and yet there's only so much we can do as a board in this setting. And so certainly we should have, and I agree with you, Mike, I think we should have a conversation about if we're being perceived as being too soft. I do recall the last time we talked about fines, there was a lot of pushback. It's like, no, that's too much money. No, you have to give them a warning first. No, that the idea of punitive action was abhorrent. But we should certainly continue to have that conversation. And I guess I would just encourage anyone coming to the town with frustrations about what's happening with regards to the ferry, go to the DOT. Go to their managing body and complain to them about their policies and their lack of enforcement. I mean, if they heard or fielded as many complaints as we do, perhaps we could actually have a constructive and useful conversation. Yeah, Steve.
David, one question. How many of the tickets that are issued that we think are workers going to Owlsboro and stuff are actual Lincolnville versus, probably don't have a number, but it would be, I know several Lincolnville folks that they make arrangements to park up the street on Route 1 at another person's house or whatever, and I know a couple of people that I've seen their vehicles there. They're not Lincolnville.
Oh yeah, it's
they're working out in Owlsboro.
Obviously, with the data gathered when the ticket is issued, we can find out who owns the vehicle, and I wouldn't want to venture a guess, but a percentage for sure. The other, it's not always the same people, so it can be a rotation of not necessarily frequent flyers, so to speak. The other is like everything we do, there's a balance here. There are people that want to park there all day, all night, 3 weeks, whatever. That's an exaggeration, but a long time. And then there are others that would like to see it turned over every 2 hours because that's how long it takes to sit down at a restaurant and order a meal and get a meal and then move on. And then there's people that want to be there 6 hours because they're going to the beach or whatever. And the medium, the happy medium we've chosen, not we, the board's chosen, because you do have a parking ordinance, is there are some 15-minute spots, there are some 2-hour spots, there are some 4-hour spots, and there are some harbor user owned by permit only spots. And then there's the state lots, and private. So it's a mix mash of regulation, trying to find balance. And once again, whether it be this or something else, not everybody's happy with whatever balance gets struck. But we can certainly get you some data and get you a pretty little aerial photo that shows all the little
Let's get that again.
area, parking areas. If you want to do something different.
Just remind us that breakdown.
Jordan, anything else you want to add or suggestions you might want to leave the board with?
No, you guys took it to a good place.
All right.
I appreciate it.
No, thank you. Thank you.
And moving along to agenda item number 11, we have board committee and commission appointments. And you have before you a list of expiring committee terms And if someone wants to make a motion.
I move that the board appoint the committee members requesting reappointment to the positions and terms set forth on the expiring committee terms list dated July 8th, 2022.
Moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Thank you all very much. And then we have some community interest forms in front of us. I would just say that my preference is that if a form isn't entirely visible or completely filled out, like if there's no references or there's no explanation of interest, slash the individual isn't here to expand on that, we can always invite them to a future meeting if they aren't present. So I just throw that out for the board's consideration.
I agree, that's a good idea, but I'd also like to elaborate on that and ask David if he could look at updating the community interest form so it's more apparent to people that it would really be a good thing if they would serve, if they would tell us about themselves, fill out that form.
Mm-hmm.
Right now it says, please tell us about yourself. To ask somebody in a more direct way, it might be helpful for us to avoid some tabling things.
Sure.
I don't agree.
Okay.
I actually think it's fine. In the following space, please tell us about yourself and why you would like to serve and/or continue to serve on the above circled board committee. I mean, it's kind of straightforward. Of like, hey, it would be helpful to
It's direct.
tell us something.
Yeah, but, no, I agree, and I don't want to split hairs, but I'd also like, maybe it just might, if we could go on, say exactly that, but go on to say, this would be really helpful, folks, or something to that effect. It might be a good thing, avoid some, frustration on people not getting, showing up and not getting appointed,
Call it required fields.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Do not leave blank.
That's, geez, I don't want to write anything, definitely, and I don't want to do it in public either, so, good luck with that. Just smart.
But with that, I will welcome any motions the board wishes to make.
I would note that some people are here and some were unable to attend.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Is Barbara DeGrasse here?
Barbara's not here. She said she'd come to the future meeting if you needed her.
Okay.
She's out of town too.
Wait,
I would move to appoint Barbara DeGrasse to the Board of Assessment Review as a regular member with a term expiring in June. What is it? 2023?
Nope.
Longer term.
Yeah.
It says 2023.
Oh, 2023.
Okay.
Second, keep the.
Moved and seconded. Is there a regular member open now that we just reappointed?
Not on the Board of Assessment Review.
Yeah, there's just
That's
the
why.
alternate.
Sorry.
Alternate.
Are you willing to amend your
Amend it to
motion? And are you willing to second that amendment?
I will second. Let me think about it.
Is there further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Okay, thank you all very much.
Is Sandy Lehman? No.
She's here.
Do you want Sandy Lehman to address?
Would you like
Yes,
to
please.
chat? Okay, please come up to the podium, introduce yourself.
Sandy Lehman, 337 Beach Road.
Do you have questions for Sandy?
I'm assuming you're a previous cemetery trustee?
No.
No, this is my first time as a cemetery trustee.
Okay. So you want to be on that?
Yeah.
Just for the benefit of the new member on the Board of Selectmen, anyone that hasn't served on these committees prior, they need to fill out the community interest form, and then the board has asked that they attend a meeting if possible. And then people that are trying to seek reappointment. They haven't asked people to fill that out again, nor show. Has been past practice.
Any other questions for Sandy while we've got her in the hot seat?
Bring them on.
No, thank you. Thank you for coming up and saying hi and putting a name to a face.
Sure.
We've got a hand raised in the audience. Do we wish to entertain?
Sure.
Said sir. Sir, please come up.
Sure.
Rosie Gary, Cemetery Trustees Chairman, reappointed chairman as of tonight. I'm just going to tell you that this lady Sandy has attended 2 meetings, even though she wasn't appointed by you, but and in layman's terms, she's taken the bull by the horn and she's running. So I'm going to tell you, this is a worker, so.
Is that,
Just
that's an endorsement?
That's an endorsement.
Okay.
You do have the other candidate.
So,
Yes. So there are two interest forms pertinent to the cemetery trustees. Does the board wish to say hello? Would you care to come up to the podium just to introduce yourself?
I'll tell you how to pronounce my name. It's
great.
Care.
Oh, wait until you're at the microphone. No need to rush.
Hello. I'm Care Hallandbeck, 75 Stan Silly Road, Lincolnville. I've lived here for 20 years, raised my kids here, and unfortunately my work regionally with hospitals has had me in Belfast and Penn Bay and Lincoln Health. Not so much in Lincolnville. So at this point in my life, I'm interested in giving back to the town and, being here now. My daughter Hannah, who Claire mentioned, the sailors there, she's the head counselor at the sailing camp. And she says to me, oh, Mom, because I was telling her I was coming here to volunteer. She goes, oh, give them my name. Because everybody knows Hannah. So
I like name dropping, I love it.
So I've got, one, we raised her well, but 2, I can be showing up more myself now. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Questions for Care?
Yeah.
So how come out of all of the committees and boards, you're most interested in the cemetery committee?
I'm a writer and an ordained minister, and I wrote the book. Dear Little One, which is a book about thoughts, hopes, wishes for my children, basically after I'm gone. And so the after I'm gone, sentiment is strong with me, and I'd like to apply my skills, creativity, strength with Sandy here, as the next group to, move forward with these really important properties, histories, memorials, and honoring who have gone before us.
Any other questions for Care? If not, oh, sorry.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I got a question and comment because I feel like I'm in a tough spot. Because there's one opening, 2 people, both very interesting. Both would be really good.
This doesn't happen very often.
No, it doesn't happen. So, yeah, the way we should be counting our blessing, but this is a mixed blessing. And to try to choose one person is both of whom want to work. That's a tough thing to do. So I'm wondering, would either of you be willing to fill in some other place and let the other person fill in here? That's just something to, consider perhaps. Or would the cemetery committee be willing to entertain one more person? If that's something.
Well, we'd have to change.
We'd have to change the charge if we could do that down the road. I don't think we'd do that now.
That's a whole other conversation.
Unfortunately, the actual number of cemetery trustees is in your town charter,
Okay.
along with the alternates. I think they probably would welcome I don't know what you titled that person, but somebody to come and help and participate.
A volunteer and.
Yeah. An advisor.
Are there alternate openings?
This is for an alternate.
There's only one alternate opening available.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess just in the interest of time here, sure. I mean, from what I've heard tonight, there seems to be need on like several committees.
Yes.
And resurrecting trustees and whatnot.
So send an email to David.
Okay.
And you guys can start a conversation about where there are openings in places, if what I'm hearing that you're willing to consider other volunteer opportunities.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We'd love to have you.
And thank you for introducing yourself to us.
Thanks a lot,
Thank you.
yeah. And it's CARE, right?
Care. Yep. With that, would someone care to make a motion, please?
I move to appoint Sandy Lehman to this, as a cemetery trustee, as an alternate member with a term expiring June 2023.
Second.
Woo! Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing nothing, all those in favor? Thank you all very much.
Welcome. Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you. And thank you, Care, for the conversation. Moving along, does someone wish to make a motion?
I move to appoint Peter Rollins to the Recreation Commission as a regular member with the term expiring in June 2025.
Second.
Moved and seconded, and it's worth noting he is here, in case someone didn't know who Peter was. Does anyone wish to ask Peter any questions? All those in favor? Thank you all very much. And moving along, what's that?
Is that it for appointments?
There are more community interest forms, not necessarily enough
sorry, we're not
openings
there
for
yet.
all of them.
Thanks, Peter.
Good night, Peter. David, exactly how many openings are there in the Lakes and Ponds?
Multiple.
There are, okay. I wasn't sure.
You asked me that, and I was gonna look and got
I know. It's
sidetracked.
I get twitchy when there aren't a quantity to work
Lakes and
with.
Ponds is a very unique setup because there was supposed to be one person from each of the lake or pond associations, and then citizens from that didn't abut the pond, and citizens from Northport and Searsmont and Camden and Hope invited, and it's had an ebb and a flow, but there are still multiple vacancies.
All right.
So I'd like to handle the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee appointment.
Okay.
If that's okay. See, there's two people, John Pinsey and Jordan Martin Parker, who are interested in the position. So I'd like to hear from both of them as to why they want to be on there.
Is that okay with the rest of the board? Yeah? Who would you like to invite up first?
Let's do John, because he's closer to the mic.
So John Pinsent, I've lived in Maine since '83 in Lincolnville for, I don't know, about 25 years now. I grew up in Rhode Island, and I saw firsthand what happens to towns and cities, even where planning is not the top of the agenda or even close to it, and the kind of development that happens in a place without any kind of oversight or planning leads to some pretty ugly situations and ugly towns and unsightly neighborhoods, all kinds of things that that can happen without some good planning. So that's, and I care about this town since I've lived here all these years. It's a wonderful rural community with lots of good people, lots of good working class people, and all kinds of people. And anyway, I'd like to be part of the comprehensive planning committee to just be able to have some ideas to inject into whatever the townspeople would like to see happen in Lincolnville. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Questions for John?
Yeah, John, I'm going to ask you the same question kind of asked Sandy, and she's gone here. In that there's one position available to people interested.
Right.
I'll ask you first, and I'll probably ask Jordan the same question. Would you be interested in serving in another committee, I guess?
Well, this is the one that I've had my mind set on for a couple of months now,
Okay,
so yeah, I'd rather not.
No, thanks, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to, okay, thank you.
Sure.
Other questions for John? John, I've heard you mention the lack of, that lack of oversight or planning can lead to negative things happening within a community. Are you suggesting or implying that that is the case here in Lincolnville?
Not at all.
Okay.
No. Not yet.
And do you feel, as being a member on the Comprehensive Plan Committee, that you will make an effort to adopt a perspective of all of the diverse members of the community of Lincolnville?
That would be ideal.
Is that your intention?
Well, it's always the intention, I think, of all of us to try to take in everybody's points of view. But we all have, bias, professional or otherwise, so.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
You want to?
Yeah, so I'd like to hear from Jordan now.
I'm going to make it very easy for you, because when I read the packet and saw that John there was another person interested, I'm just going to take myself out of the running for that, because really serving on the planning board is the thing that I'm extremely interested in. And so I would
So comp plan committee, you're backing out of?
Yes, I would, because there's time, and I would rather step aside and let John, if that's what you see fit,
I'm just glad we didn't have to arm wrestle.
Does someone wish to make a motion?
I move to appoint John Vincent to the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee as an alternate member with the term expiring in June 2023.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? And moving along.
Thank you.
Oh, you bet.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks a lot.
So I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to move to appoint Jordan Barnett Parker to the Financial Advisory Committee with a term expiring in June 2025.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Thank you all very much.
Congratulations.
Okay, planning board is 2. I'd like to hear from Jordan about why he wants to be on the planning board. The board.
Sure.
On stage.
Do we want to hear from Jordan on that, with regards to
Yeah,
that?
I would.
Come on up.
Jordan Barnett Parker, 40 Meadowlark. I have watched the planning board operate for a while, and have always been admired the way that they conduct themselves. And being a business owner, landowner, a landlord in Lincolnville, I'd like to know and see and be a part of the things that are happening in town. And the planning board is just an extremely important board. It's a completely neutral board, and it's based on facts and information, and it's all information that I want to drink in and absorb, and would be looking forward to that chance. And I know that there's at least a resignation coming up by Elizabeth Udy in the next couple of line items here on the agenda. And I just want to make sure that, the town can conduct the very important business that it needs to, unhindered and well-informed.
Thank you.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Sorry, Julie. So, you've been watching the planning board for quite a while, so you know how it's done. It's a pretty cut and dry thing. Does the application conform to the language that in the ordinances? But however, there's also the whole process of findings of fact, determining the evidence in the application, or in the situation, and putting that on the record. And that's what's going to be actionable for appeals and courts down the road, whatever like that. So that's got to be very, very clear and distinct, right? So I just want to make sure you're clear on that language is going to be, that your role in the planning board will be very constrained, it's not fun.
That depends on.
That's true. No, but you'll be constrained in what goes on the record. That's all. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's cool. As long as you're aware of that.
And a motionless black and white.
I'm expecting a robot. Yeah.
Other questions for Jordan? I mean, I have massive reservations about your, I don't doubt that you're willing, but I am not sure that at this time I would be in favor of putting you on the planning board simply from working with you for the last 18 months. And so I just wanted to be really honest with you about that.
Wow, that's surprising.
Do you want to, can you share?
Well, I would refer back to the previous 3 agenda items that he brought to us today with no planning. He hadn't read the policies and procedures at Breezemere. I mean, woefully inadequate, unprepared. And in my experience working with him on the board in the last 18 months, there was a lot of opining about certain subjects without necessarily the thought to actually looking at the very clear procedures, steps, ordinances, charter aspects, etc. So that's part of the reason why I nominated him to be on the Financial Advisory Committee, because he certainly has expressed a lot of opinions about how the town manages its money. And so I think that will be a really excellent experience, learning opportunity. But when it comes to a quasi-judicial, great legal ramifications, that's not something I would support.
Okay.
But that being said,
well, I had similar reservations. I'm going to take Jordan at his word right now, and that you'll be very diligently looking at applications and see to what extent they conform. That's all.
All right.
Might I just say one thing?
Sure.
I'd also like to just offer that there are different roles that we play in life, and that being on the select board and a representative for the community is much different than sitting on a board that is constrained to rules that are, like I said, dry legal rules that are quite clear, and it's not a place that's meant for the injection of opinions. I mean, that right off the bat, the reason why I admire the way that they handle what they do is the fact that they don't let that creep into their decision-making process. And I hear time and time again during the planning board meetings, we are here to look at the ordinances and pull them apart piece by piece and see if these criteria have been met. And if they've been met, the only decision we have is to approve it, and if they don't, then we have to send you back. It's a very cut and dry thing. It's much different than talking about opinionated items that have been brought forth by citizens in the town. So that's all I have to say about that.
Well, I don't have the same reservations, so I move to appoint Jordan Barnett Parker to the planning board. Make sure I do this right. As a regular member, expiring in June 2024.
A second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? All those opposed? Okay. We have Mr. Williams here. Thank you, Jordan. We have Mr. Williams here in the audience. Would anyone on the board wish to ask him any questions? John,
Yes.
would you care to come up to the podium to chat with the board?
Yep. I'm John Williams, live on Crowley Road in Lincolnville.
And you are interested in the budget committee?
Budget committee, yes.
Yes. Does anyone recall the excellent financial and informational presentations John has offered the board in the past?
Yes, and they are entertaining as well, so thanks for that, yeah.
Very, and quite useful. I
Yeah.
mean, that, you know, I feel like it bears saying that, you know, you've come before the board incredibly well prepared and giving us excellent supporting information to facilitate decisions that we've made in the past. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So,
Yeah.
first of all, love your shirt. Gotta say it.
I know, I was just, we were just talking about this.
John.
So, I'd like to hear just how come you're interested in the budget committee out of all the committees and boards we have in Lincolnville?
Well, I've been on the budget committee for at least 5 years, 5 or 6, I don't know. And I just didn't want to go petition to get on the ballot again this year. And I thought, well, if they have vacancies and need help, I'll step up to help. If anybody here wants to say, no, John, go sit down, I'd like to help instead. I would sit down. I just want to fill a place if there's a need. So,
And there is.
yeah, okay, so
Thank you.
that's what I'm doing, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions for John? Thank you so much, John, and
Okay.
thank you for throwing your hat in the ring, so to speak.
Yeah, okay.
Would anyone care to make a motion?
I move to appoint John Williams to the Budget Committee as a regular member of the term expiring at the next annual town meeting to be held in June 2023. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing no further,
No, I just wanted to point out to John that you do know that this is kind of a special appointment because you didn't run to fill in a vacancy, so we only have to, your term only goes to the next town meeting.
I know.
Okay,
I'm
good.
attractive also.
Okay.
He's very savvy.
Okay, yeah, okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor? Thank you all very much.
Thank you,
And
John.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other
No.
appointments we want to make at this time?
Oh,
I think,
There's Rosetta?
no, there's no one. No, we just have our friend and neighbor on Norton Pond hanging out with us.
I'm just admiring this. I was a selectman on the board of selectmen family years ago, and I enjoyed listening and appreciating.
We love it. We love having an audience.
Thank you.
I hope it's not bringing back bad memories.
Oops, I just crossed off you, I said, don't worry about that, okay?
I would say at this point,
Sorry.
we'd encourage applicants to come to
Yeah,
a
the-
future meeting.
Step in.
All right?
Yep.
Okay, if we move along, folks? Yes. All right, next up, we have the qualified catering liquor license for Celador Winery at Celador Winery Vineyard. And there are 3 separate applications that you will see for the 21st of July, the 11th of August, the 18th of August, and all will be from 3 PM to 6 PM. Does anyone wish to make a motion?
Okay. I move that the board approve and sign the catering permit as submitted by Celador Winery for events occurring in the Celador Winery Vineyard on July 21st, August 11th, and August 18th, 2022, between the hours of 3 PM and 6 PM.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you all very much. And I don't want to steal your thunder, David, so I'll let you say it because I'm not willing to acknowledge it.
So we're planning for winter. And we've sought bids for winter sand. The 2 bids received this year. We've worked with both of these entities in the past. And the Public Facilities Director and I are recommending that you accept the low bid of Brad Aiken and Sons Trucking and Excavation, $12.50 a yard.
Can I have a motion, please?
I move that the 2022 winter sand supply and stockpiling bid be awarded to Brad Aiken and Sons Trucking and Excavation of Monroe, Maine for the unit price of $12.50 per cubic yard.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you all very much. And David, do you wish to speak to this at all? Next agenda
sure.
item.
The board has received its ballot for election to MMA's or Maine Municipal Association's Legislative Policy
Oh,
Committee.
wait, you skipped one.
Oops, sorry, I did.
14.
Woo, 14. Oh. Ooh, yes.
How optimistic were you?
We've, we had a grand total of 2 applicants for the part-time custodian position, one of which found themselves another part-time thing and withdrew when we went to speak with them. The other is qualified, ready to go, Gina Sawyer. We're happy to have her. Okay. If the board will appoint her.
Well,
Yeah. Let's have a motion.
Well,
I move that the board appoint Gina Sawyer as the part-time town office custodian with an hourly rate of $18.91 and with a 6-month probationary period.
second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion?
Well, no, I'd just also like to say that I've been on a committee with Gina. She's a great worker.
Mhm.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, and I don't want the number of applicants or the circumstances to diminish her value at all in any way, shape, or form. So we very much appreciate her working with us. Pending vote. So if there's no further discussion, all those in favor? Thank you all very much. And now, David, we have before us 2 names for the Maine Municipal Association Legislative Policy Committee ballot. We've heard Mike speak to us on that. Would you illuminate?
On James?
Yeah.
Just that James reached out to me. He's the town administrator in Northport. I've met him twice. You have the email he sent. He saw that there was only 1 person on a 2-person ballot and reached out to as many communities in Waldo County as possible.
Yep, great.
To your choice.
Does someone wish to make a motion?
I move that the board cast our ballot for the Maine Municipal Association's Legislative Policy Committee for David Michael Ray and James Costa.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion?
No.
Seeing none, all those in favor?
Thank you, Mike.
Go.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, well, I hope I can get back to the board with some good information.
Thank you.
And should I be elected, my door is always open. If you guys have any concerns you want up to Augusta, I'm your guy.
I love it. You're firing up the old political machine.
What can I say?
Next on our agenda is an unfortunate resignation. Can I have a motion?
I move that the board accept with great regret the resignation of Elizabeth Udy from the planning board.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? Seeing nothing, all those in favor? With regret. So agenda item number 17. Gentlemen, do we have a broadband update?
I don't. We haven't met since the last select board meeting. We're meeting this Thursday. So hopefully we will have, I've got to reach out to Mark, but I'm assuming the LCI discussion document should be ready. So hopefully we'll be discussing that.
Excellent. Anything you want to add, Steve? Okay.
I might just add
Yes.
something there. I did speak with the town attorney about meeting with the board, and she said that she probably wouldn't be the best person from their office to meet with you, but she was going to refer us to Mark Bauer, and she might come and make that introduction too, but depending on when it was.
And did Mark help Islesboro?
Mark helped Islesboro with there, and he's a municipal attorney, but he also has some more the business type background. So
Great.
she thought he would be
Great.
good assistance.
Tag him.
Excellent.
Yeah. All right.
So that document, if something's coming from Axiom, would be helpful if there's talking points for me to get to Mark.
Okay.
And Mark's helped us with the land use issue up on Levenseller Pond back in the day. It's not completely unknown to us.
So if there's nothing further there, let's move along to selectmen updates. Kern, do you have an update for us?
I do not have anything.
All right.
This time.
Anything additional, Josh?
No.
Mike?
Me neither.
I have nothing. Steve?
I have a question.
Sure.
Regarding our park thing earlier. Is this the right time to?
Not as such, and I realize I should have given you a preamble in your first meeting. The board a while back established, because there was so much going on with Midcoast Solid Waste, so it has been the practice, while it is not a policy, it has been the practice of the board, so as this doesn't become an sort of extemporaneous soapbox opportunity, is for select board members who are involved in interlocal committees and other town work to report back, so that we're all kind of on the same page. Yes.
I'm not a selected, but I'm going to update something. Because it reminded me when you said you had nothing, the EMS Performance Committee is meeting on the 28th. And that did not make your reappointment to the EMS Performance Committee did not make the committee expiring terms. And we also have a second vacancy. So with one of the other four wants to step up, we'll need somebody.
Oh.
So you're looking down the line, Josh, but you're not looking at yourself.
Well, we're on Midco Solid Waste. You're on EMS.
I'm on EMS.
I'm looking at you two.
Sorry, which
This is the.
I think you just volunteered for something, you didn't know it. Yeah.
So the EMS Review Committee, we're contractually required, or we have contractually agreed to have a multi-town committee that meets quarterly, or supposed to meet quarterly. It's been like pulling hen's teeth to get everyone in the same room. But, there's contract review, there's performance evaluations, etc. It's a great time.
Well, I don't want to arm wrestle for it, but I'd be willing to do it, Oh, yeah, but same, I don't want to deny you the pleasure.
I'd be willing,
Yeah.
And I was a first responder back in the days.
Well, then I think you are.
So
Actually, I used to ride squad too.
There we go.
Yeah. No, wait a minute, I used to ride squad
So
too.
do you need a motion?
I think it would be good to go back and open up item 11 or do it here to make a motion to appoint the two of you to that committee.
Well,
So
at the
that-
risk of being very messy, would the board be willing to go back to agenda item number 11 under board, committee, and commission appointments for the sake of tidiness, transparency, etc., to amend all of those not amend those actions, but add to those a motion for our EMS review committee.
Expiring next year.
Yes.
It's annual, yeah.
I move to appoint Ladley Dunn and Steve Hand to the EMS Performance Review Committee, the term expiring June 2023.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Thanks for volunteering. No, it really, believe me, it's actually, it's important, like all the things we do. Yeah. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor? I'll vote for myself. Thank you all. So.
Sorry, I dropped the ball on that one.
No, you and I dropped it too. We had had that conversation and.
Wasn't too late.
I typed a list though.
I'm glad you remembered because that would have really.
Yeah.
Been in keeping with the EMS Review Committee's track record thus far. Okay, so if there's no more, if there's nothing else on Selectmen updates, let's move along to the treasurer and payroll warrants.
I move the board approve and sign the treasurer's and payroll warrants.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you all very much. And if there is no other business in front of the board, I will entertain a final motion.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Geez, that was a slow second for adjournment.
We're having fun.
All those in favor? Thank you all very much.
In addition